Good day, Philippines! Mayong adlaw, Negros Oriental, and welcome to another episode of FlexiEd, or Flexible Learning Experience in Education, brought to you by the Department of Education, Division of Negros Oriental. This is Leia, your host, and yesterday we just met Kuya Marie, who talked about how to build a community of hope builders. Now, with hope as the centerpiece, we also want to nurture our workforce, since they will be the ones who will inspire our children to continue going to school despite the pandemic. That is why our topic for today is very timely, and it will be about organizational well-being in the new normal, implications in the academe. Our resource person for today is another amazing guy whom I know personally, so I'm so proud and privileged to introduce to you our speaker. He finished his bachelor's degree in nursing, cum laude, from the University of the Visayas in 2007. He was also named as one of the 10 outstanding students of the Philippines in Region 7 in the same year. He is a registered nurse and a doctorate degree holder in human resource management. He has held various positions as college instructor, graduate school professor, assistant director for research, director for human resource management, and chief of administration at the University of the Visayas. He is an active member of the Asian Association of School HRMD Practitioners Incorporated, where he currently holds the designation as its vice president for External Affairs and Linkages. Friends, let's all welcome Mr. Joel B. Serad. Hi, Sir Joel.
Hi, thank you, Leia. Maayong adlaw, maayong buntag, Negros Oriental. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you? Kumusta diha?
Kaluoy sa Ginoo, Miss Leia. We are good. Thank you very much. And we are glad that Cebu is back to general community quarantine status after it has been reverted to ECQ for two consecutive periods.
I'd like to ask, sir, kumusta man mo? How is your family doing, especially since Cebu was one of the cities that was hardest hit by this pandemic?
Actually, Lee, we have to do a little adjustment now because we have two senior citizens at home and we have kids as well. So we have to make sure that everything is planned out for the rest of the week because we have to do grocery once a week plan.
Yeah.
And we have in the new policy for Cebu City, we have this sharing of the quarantine pass. So everything will have to really be planned out for the whole week. Otherwise, you might end up not being able to buy groceries for the family. And at the same time, one good thing is walay traffic, of course.
Yeah.
Traffic, yeah. But basically, it is like we really have to bear with the restrictions. No, beginning with our barangay and wherever in the roads you are in Cebu City, naagi mga restrictions le. But then right now it is getting better na po. Thank God.
Before you start your sharing, karon, sir, no, just very quickly, how do you find our current workforce, wherever they may be, in whatever industry? Kumusta ang atong mga empleyado, and how are they coping, at least from your perspective as an HR practitioner, given this unprecedented event?
Yeah, I understand, Lay, that the pandemic practically really resulted to disruptions in business operations, particularly in school, in tourism and travel businesses, or in the travel sector. And I really know and understand as well that a lot of our employees nowadays are have succumbed to the negative impact of the pandemic, particularly on their job security. Daghan tag mga empleyado nga nawagtangan ng trabaho. Most of them are laid off. Some of them were placed on temporary na furlough, and then at the same time, some of them really were not able to survive the impact of the pandemic. So they lost their jobs, they lost income, and challenging medyo in terms of looking for new jobs right now because of economic effect of the pandemic to the business operation. So gamay lang po ang nag-hire. At the same time, not likely that soon mataas ang hiring. So taas kay ang rate of unemployment nowadays. Challenging yun kayo in terms of a human resource area, Miss Leia, no? And naapa ni siyang challenge na mo nga we have to do what we call right sizing. We have to balance how many employees we need
Yeah.
lang for the moment and what we're going to do to employees that we will not be needing as of the present time. So daghan kag mga tweaks na gibuhat in terms of HR, Miss Lay. So challenging yun kayo siya.
I like the term that you used, right sizing. I will include that in my vocabulary starting
Actually, it does
karon.
not exist legally, Miss Leia. With,
Yeah.
kami lang, mga HR practitioners, instead
Understood.
of using downsizing, we call it
Yeah.
right sizing.
Exactly. And that's the adjustment for the times. And that's why I feel this is very timely and the teachers will definitely learn so much from you today, sir. So please take it
Hopefully.
away.
Thank you very much. So once again, maayong buntag Negros Oriental, and I'd be glad to share with you my topic on organizational well-being in the new normal, implications in the academe. So to begin with, I'd like all of us to be familiar with where we are right now. So the world as we knew it has changed already, and right now we're currently in the midst of what we call a crisis. We have a global health crisis, we have a global economic crisis, and we have at the same time a humanitarian crisis. All of this we are facing right now, and these are some of the few challenges that we have to really surpass. No, karong tuiga, especially that we still don't have the vaccine for the COVID-19, no, and going out and even working, no, and continuing your livelihood would actually be very challenging nowadays. So the new reality of work would already involve technological enablement, and at the same time, we are looking into rapid and purposeful decision making over precision. There is already flatter and leaner organizations with distributed workforce. And if you try to look at every organization nowadays, as I have mentioned earlier, there is already what we call right sizing that we are doing in order for the companies to also survive. So we have to make sure that we have a balance, we reach a balance between the number of employees that we need now and the number of fields or jobs that are actually essential for operations nowadays. Then we have cost pressures and revenue challenges. We have heightened anxiety, of course, and most importantly, we are looking into the significance of safety and well-being, particularly of our employees nowadays. So my exposure is more in the academic setting, and so I'd like to share with you the implications of well-being in the new normal to the academic environment. So right now we have the striking the right balance in the operations, particularly in the academic sector. So we're looking into caring for self and preparing to lead through the crisis, supporting and guiding the employees, clarifying the business agenda, and creating a purpose-driven impact on the community. So right now, organizations are preparing to restore stability, which is on the second phase. So we are resetting and reimagining operations under the new normal, particularly new assumptions, new protocols, new focus areas, and new pacing. So today's new normal is more than just a remote work site, more than just virtual work hours, more than just social distancing. There is a constant state of anxiety and uncertainty and stress that will actually impact everyone's mental health in different ways. So many employers nowadays are taking aggressive and innovative action to ensure the survival of their companies. However, in doing so, many companies are pushing employees to contribute in more creative ways to remain constantly connected while knowing that their continued employment is still unclear. So, in today's unusual working world, it is more important than ever for employers to consider organizational well being as a critical element of business practice. So, no matter where in the world we are right now, the crisis really have an impact, a dramatic impact on our workforce. And this is a defining moment for leadership as they steer their organizations through uncertain times, focusing on workforce principles that will align to employee experience and forge the new normal. So in doing so, the organization is adopting or is going to adopt an agile and continuous learning mindset to understand the perspectives of and engage all the stakeholders, to balance medium term needs and longer term objectives, and most importantly, to focus on employee and company well being. So, organizational and personal well being are actually intertwined. No, we cannot separate them because organizational well being will eventually lead to personal well being. And when we talk of organizational well being, we talk about value driven decisions, transformational leadership, and supportive climate. As I have said earlier, this is the challenge for our leaders in the industry, particularly in schools, so that they will be able to give out these three now facets of organizational well-being in order to result to what we call personal or employee well-being and satisfy all the five aspects of physical, emotional, social, professional, and financial well-being, which are practically integrated and interrelated to each other. So in the on the employee perspectives, majority of our employees nowadays report anxiety or worry. In fact, 92% report at least some anxiety from the coronavirus. And then there is distraction from work, wherein 70% report at least some distractions from work from the coronavirus concerns. And there is what we call increase in financial concerns. I believe now that even if our faculty members, like for example, in the government sector, they are still being paid, but then technically there are still financial concerns that they worry every now and then. Much more to our faculty members and our personnel coming from the private institutions. So the impacts on the employee experience, no, like 39% would have to agree fully that colleagues are able to cope well, and 57% are able to agree fully that they are able to find ways to manage the challenges, but yet only 32% agree that they can fully balance working from home and other personal life commitments. Okay? On the other hand, there is more than half, no? More than even 75% have shifted to a work from home environment. 47 or less than half of the percentage agree fully that they know how to apply company benefits to coronavirus care, and less than half also agree fully that their company is making it easier for them to access and use the benefits. So, how is our organizations managing, particularly in schools? We are in the current state of being overwhelmed by changing information, stress and anxiety, okay, fear, caregiving from afar. So what are some of the employer interventions that are being implemented nowadays? So we have management support, we have sleep programs, resilience exercise, enhancement to mental health, flexible work arrangements, and of course, communications and training and worksite safety. So if you would notice, a lot of our institutions nowadays, even the schools where I am in right now, are implementing worksite safety. In fact, wala pa gid ka naka-finally decide no as to whether or not to start the physical reporting of classes no in school, but classes will have to start no by hook or by crook in whatever modality, so long as dili lang siya physically reporting. So on emotional and social well-being, now we have to continue to address these what well-being aspects, okay, to address the personal and social stigma associated with mental health. So changes in how we think, behave, and relate to one another, some deliberate but many made unconsciously, some temporary but others potentially permanent, are already coming to define our new normal. So in terms of emotional well-being, we look into resilience, mindfulness, meditation training, coaching support, okay, communication and redesigning, virtual care options. While on social well-being, we're looking into charity and volunteerism, remote work policies, addressing loneliness, and then connecting with personal and organizational purpose. On the other side, other than emotional and social well-being that we have to also address, no, organizational well-being also have to take into consideration financial well-being. This one is very challenging, okay, because especially in schools where operations is actually disrupted, some of the employees will have to really suffer, no, being laid off. At the same time, they have to be placed on temporary, no, being put to floating status. They are on no work, no pay basis. Okay, so financial well-being have to be considered. So potential immediate actions would involve supporting employees who may be balancing short-term financial priorities with long-term savings, okay? And considering options available for design in new related legislation, being mindful of varying populations and understanding the key provisions for both legislative and employer-related upon leave, time off, and reduced hours, while managing actions to implement changes to support employees and ensuring ongoing governance and plan operations are maintained. Okay, so 32% are negatively impacted by financial problems, and that is basically a considerable number. Okay, so in the next 6 months, we're expecting two-thirds. Okay, expect an impact to employee well-being. 80% have identified promoting well-being apps. Okay, 95% already on believing senior leaders are demonstrating interest in employee well-being. Two-thirds are raising awareness of emergency financial assistance. Two-thirds identified enhancing mental well-being. 80%, okay, are increasing on communications about well-being. Two-thirds are enhancing well-being programs. 90% are promoting virtual solutions for employees. 70% are promoting healthy weight, nutrition, and physical activity. And 80% developing a strategy to return to work. Okay, so the responsibility for staff well-being also rests with leadership. In fact, need kaayo nato ang leadership support in terms of organizational well-being. So everyone needs to work together. The employer and the employees in school, our teachers, our principals, our administrative heads, our non-teaching personnel, our students, and all other stakeholders. We have to work together to create an environment and culture where all members of the learning community would feel supported and have the opportunity to flourish. So the leadership expectations as we shift to restoring stability would evolve around protecting and preserving, making others feel safe and secure, making others feel included and valued, even if you know that they will be laid off from work. Okay, making everyone evolve and thrive, no, the students, the learning community, the stakeholders, the teaching and non-teaching personnel, and making everyone feel inspired and invigorated. So while many school districts support addressing the social, economic, learning, and mental health initiatives, there are few districts who have significant focus on mental health of their staff. So we are looking here of the holistic involvement, not only the students, but also the working team, the workforce in the school. So poor staff mental health may impact students' well-being and the ability to learn. So supporting staff well-being will therefore eventually benefit the students. So the primary challenge there is to ensure adequate access and readiness of the stakeholders, students and teachers to the digital world, that real learning may be missed out for the lack of learners' readiness for independent self-learning, as well as teachers' well-being and readiness for online teaching. So our priorities would involve everyone, administrators, elementary and secondary teachers, our education assistants, our faculty in the college level, our non-teaching personnel. So we address, no, resilience, improving professional relationships, clarifying rules, counseling, okay, addressing work-life balance, and at the same time providing more support for working in collaborative teams. We have to always remember that if our employees and workforce are well, if their well-being is prioritized and addressed and at the same time supported, they are more productive. And when they are more productive, when they are happier at work, they tend to be able to provide better contribution to the institution. So no matter what your role is, student, educator, coach, maintenance servicing, or administration, everyone will have to really look after their own well-being. And that would mean everyone is responsible for doing what they can to manage their own stress and build their own sense of positive well-being. A culture of good mental health for everyone will start with the individual. And when services and school support staff well-being, it has a positive impact on staff retention, okay, job satisfaction and productivity, as well as on children and young people's outcomes. The responsibility for staff well-being, like the benefits that it would bring, would be shared between the learning community and individual staff. So the school is a highly interactive community. All staff members should be a focus of well-being approaches because each person is one part of the whole and each can impact or be impacted by other staff, students, and parents at different times. So we, educators, and other working people in the K-12 system and in higher education systems, we are not healthcare professionals. We do not diagnose or treat physical or mental health issues. But what we can do is basically maximize the well-being of everyone, our staff most importantly, by creating a supportive and caring community in which we work, thereby reducing the possibility of well-being issues arising. It's possible to build on the positive and address some issues that may be problematic in a variety of ways in order to improve staff well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Joel. We've learned so much po, but there are some points that I really loved about your presentation. The first one is that this pandemic is an opportunity for administrators to really show their leadership. In fact, it could be one of the defining moments for leadership, given that we are in that position, that we are able to create such change and such influence in our workspace. That's one. I also like the fact that emotional well-being is given so much importance at present. In the previous normal, I would say not too much because we have so much we have so many rather tasks to do. But given the pandemic, it's forcing us to kind of slow things down and give importance to what really matters, and that is the emotional well-being of our employees, of our teachers. And the last one, the last point that I'd like to bring out is that if the workforce feel emotionally secure and happy, then they are able to even work beyond what is expected of them. So that is actually a very good point to leave, especially for our administrators who are listening in today. Sir Joe, thank you so much for for everything that you've shared with us. Any parting thoughts before we let you go po?
Okay. First up, before I will give my parting thoughts, Miss Leia, I'd like to thank Flexi Ed, for inviting me over and for allowing me to share insights on organizational well-being, particularly in the new normal. So, for my parting thoughts, I would just like to make everyone be very especially conscious that right now we are not only dealing with work, but we are dealing with everything, every aspect of being a human person integrated with work. Because as much as we want to achieve something in the organization, we have to always remember that whether we like it or not, we are human persons. We are not robots. And because of that fact, we have to be able to address the emotional, social, physical, mental, and even spiritual and financial needs of our current workforce. And I'd like to specifically address it to our employers because they might miss it out, Miss Leia. No, they might miss it out. They might be very overwhelmed with saving the company to the point that they might forget how it feels to become an employee. So we have to make it sure that whatever we do to the company, however we feel for the company, we will also feel the same way for our employees. Okay?
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for your time po. And please stay safe. And that was Sir Joel giving us wonderful insights on organizational health, especially in the time of the pandemic. So dear teachers and dear administrators who are listening in, let's take care of each other. And as what Sir Joel said, a culture of mental health and wellness begins with each one of us. This has been Leia saying a wonderful day to you all.